Here's the latest 2 o'clock advisory. Winds at 120, so it's now gone up 5 miles an hour. It's a strong Category 3 hurricane, and once it hits winds of 130, it becomes a Category 4 hurricane. And that's the forecast for this afternoon and this evening, as this makes a very close shave to the dry Tortugas. Here's Key West for reference. Key West right now is doing just fine, by the way. It's just cloudy out there with a couple of showers. The real wind starts about 60 miles to Key West's southwest, and it looks like most of the wind will avoid Key West. They'll get some tropical storm force winds, but the real concern is as this moves inland tomorrow evening, the forecast center of the cone brings it right into Siesta Key Beach, right into Anna Maria Island, that is Manatee and Sarasota counties, as a Category 3 hurricane about 8 o'clock. And that's something that they have not seen in modern times. A lot of development up and down that beach. You know those beaches up there, all the condos, all the development. The storm surge here is going to be a real issue. Now, if it does take the southern track, the winds will be blowing out Tampa Bay, which will greatly reduce the storm surge going in, which is actually not the worst news for Tampa Bay. However, it's at our expense, for better or for worse, because as the storm moves up toward the north, it will cross right into the Orlando area. Now, in doing so, it's expected to weaken to a tropical storm by the time we get to Thursday evening. However, a tropical storm with winds of about 70 miles an hour sustained. Think about that for a second, right? 70 mile an hour sustained winds. The reality of this is that with all the trees and with the surface friction, we're probably going to have winds sustained at more like 40 to 50 miles an hour with gusts inside of the squalls of 70, 75 miles an hour. So that's still going to be damaging, though. It's not a hurricane, thankfully, by the time it gets here. The other consideration is the rain. The big legacy with this hurricane will be the rain, because it will result in flooding based on the latest computer model suggestions that we haven't seen in memory, with anywhere between 20 and 30 inches of rain possible somewhere along its track. Yet to be determined, but it's all potential. Most of us seeing 6 to 10 inches. Some spots could have 3 times that amount, leading to a lot of flooding. Now, that would happen mostly tomorrow and tomorrow night, and then the wind rolls in on Thursday. So those are the impacts. As far as what it does after that, it tracks north through the Carolinas and dissipates, but it could bring some significant flooding up through the coastal areas of Georgia, all the way up into the upstate of South Carolina and the mountains of North Carolina. But for our concerns here, this is going to be a wind event and a rain event. I want to give you an idea of some of the future rains. We're looking at totals conservatively between about 6 and 10 inches, but there could be spots that see well over a foot, and there could be spots yet inside of this area that could see over 20 inches of rain. It's really impossible to say at this point, but it's going to be cumulative. We're going to get a little rain today. We're going to get a lot of rain tomorrow. We'll get some rain on Thursday and maybe even Friday. Let's go to meteorologist Ian Cassette for the latest on where it's raining right now, because Ian, we're already seeing direct impacts, aren't we?
We are. No, we are already seeing that deep tropical moisture that's moving up to the north as Ian continues to move to the north, and we're seeing some heavy downpours. There's definitely a clear motion with these. It's very slow, but we have that motion coming onshore that is moving to the west. So pulling up what we are seeing here, a little bit closer of a view on some of these heavier downpours, definitely over parts of Volusia County. You're experiencing that torrential downpour, and this is going to be something that will be very familiar. So here's a view at some of the slow moving storms that are right over eastern parts of Volusia County. This is from 95 to the east, Edgewater, New Smyrna Beach. This is to your west. So a little bit closer view of things of 95 right now, which is definitely getting hit pretty hard. At El Cam Boulevard, you're seeing that heavy rain. Indian River Boulevard to the west. And we're going to continue to see all this heavy rain that will extend to the east to west. That slow movement. We are under an aerial flood watch until Friday morning. That is coming from the fact that we're going to get a lot of rain, and that could certainly lead to some flash flooding. But a wider view of things, as I pull out and show you at least what's going on to the south, as we are looking at what's down in southern Florida, that they are seeing a lot of that heavier rain, those initial bigger bands coming up from Ian, and even a tornado warning that was issued down to the south in South Florida. That has been dropped, but they are under a tornado watch for South Florida. That is likely to extend to the north here as those conditions deteriorate here over the next day or two. We will probably start to see things get bad here, if I'm defining it by the fact that we're going to see that heavier rain and also those winds starting to pick up by late tonight into Wednesday, where things will start to get a lot worse. But for right now, we're seeing those initial heavier showers and storms that will be definite, and there's going to be a lot more here coming up here soon. But Brooks, we are absolutely going to be paying attention to that flood threat over our area. Yeah, that's right, Ian. I mean, look at all this rain that could come our way. This is one of the forecast models. All right, so that's a look at the latest at 2 o'clock on this system. Today's your
day to finish up all of your preps, and make sure you think about flooding as one of the major impacts, as well as wind, and prepare for what could be long duration power outages. Make sure you got diapers and all the stuff you need if the stores are closed for a couple of days and if the roads are unpassable. Sometimes with this kind of rain, your house may be dry, your neighborhood may be dry, but the access road to get in or out could be inundated. And remember, turn around, don't drown. And I don't just mean you, I mean your car. If you try and push through floodwater that's higher than about your tires in a car and you get it into the engine bay, it can hydrolock the engine, stalling you out and ruining your car.